Hello and welcome to This Week in Property. I'm your host Richard Swan, and in today's show we're in the office. Yes, we've got a real live human being as far as we know. It's great to be back, thankfully. We've both been tested on the way in the door. We're both distanced apart. I can just see you across there, Sean. Hello there. And the man is Sean. The man is Sean McIntyre. Hello, Sean.
Hello.
Welcome. This is great. This is really good. It's weird, strange, seeing other people, seeing humans, eye-to-eye contact outside a Zoom window. It's fantastic. But let's get off and running. Straight off with a disclosure. The disclosure is, I know you. This isn't a guest, unfortunately. This isn't a guest that I've just came across. I know you. Work with you a lot, both in PMW. We both help a lot of people through the Property Protégé programme. No doubt we'll have a chat about that because we get the joy of working with just some fantastic people, doing loads of stuff in property, which of course the people watching and listening just now are either doing or they want to do. So that's great. I've also invested with you. We've worked in projects together. We've got things still ongoing as well. Might pick away at some of those because it's always interesting just to chat about things, get on the market. That's great. So there's that, but there's much more than that. There's much more than that you are doing as well, kind of on the side, in your own environment, in your own world, that I really want to chat about because I thought it was fascinating when I heard about it. But before all that, we need to talk about the man himself. So there's Sean, great, okay, so he's in property, he's doing loads of stuff, he's doing big things just now that we want to talk about, great. He's got these deals under his belt and contacts and resources and everything else, great, and that's where I want to be, or that's where I am as a listener. But how did he get there? Because it's not always been property for you, hasn't it? No. Your background is completely different. So a kind of career summary, if you like, what started that? How did you get to this point?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. So I get asked quite a lot, how did you get involved in property? And I always think that the question is asked because people have an image of like what your background needs to be, like you need to be a builder or you need to be, in sales or you need to have done something that was a natural kind of step in the project. For me, it was the total opposite. I was a youth worker for almost 10 years and that was a career, like a vocation almost, like I genuinely loved what I did. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because my journey for property actually started a couple of years before I really got into property.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, in youth work, like my role was to work with and help young people, right? Talking challenging young people, the kids that you didn't want to deal with, the kids that didn't fit the school system, they were constantly in bother and stuff. And for 10 years I did that. Mm-hmm. And from doing that and then starting to dive into my own personal development, because ultimately for me the goal was how can you help them, mm-hmm. right? How can you give them the best opportunities? Because the reality is some of these kids, the background that they grew up in, they didn't choose that. They didn't choose to come from, I don't know what you would call it, a broken home. They didn't choose to come from a household where the parents were drug addicts or whatever, or they had all these problems and were just brought up in that environment and they're dealing with life the best way that they can. Mm-hmm. And what you start to notice when you're in that role as a youth worker, or I suppose in any education system, is that people always place limits on themselves. They've got those self-imposed limitations and they think that certain things aren't for them. So my role as a youth worker was to help break down those barriers, was to break down those limitations that these people put on themselves just because of the background and what they thought was possible. Mm-hmm. So because that's what I was looking to do, and you're always looking for what we called, teachable moments, I spent a lot of time reading personal development books and things like that, and things on mindset and psychology, and really trying to understand not just how other people worked, but how my own mind worked as well. And it allowed me to then almost regurgitate in a different way to a 14-year-old.
In their language. Right.
And I did that for a long time, and I genuinely loved it. And what I've always looked at life as being and I talk about this quite a lot, is having like two bank accounts, not two financial bank accounts. Everyone knows the bank account that everybody focuses on, which is the financial one. But the other one for me was the gratitude account. You know, like, what am I grateful for? Do I feel like I've had an impact? You know, like, going to bed at night knowing that I've done something today that actually had an impact on somebody else's life.
Right, so bigger than you, outside of you.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
You know, and a lot of people don't have that, which is what it is. You know, they focus on work and that's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I get so much gratification from going to bed at night and reviewing my day and actually thinking, have I had a positive impact on somebody's life today?
Mm-hmm.
And as a youth worker, you can't not do that, because
Yeah.
if you go a day without having an impact, a positive impact on somebody, you're not doing your fucking job. It's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So every single day I had that, but then I also had, when I looked at the real bank account, it was the shit. I've got a week before payday, and like, this is getting pretty low. Because for anybody that doesn't know, a youth worker doesn't pay the best, doesn't pay the best wages. So for me, going forward, that was kind of what started the whole journey of reading all these books and things on mindset and psychology and personal development, and really starting to look at myself and think, like, surely I can take this content and this information, and because most of the books that you read on that, it's from business people. It's people who have been successful in business, mm-hmm. and they talk about how the mindset's been the key part. You know, the psychology of working with other people, that's what's allowed them to grow their wealth and their finances and that side of things as well. So I started looking at a lot of different, as I think everybody does, you know, the little side hustles, little things you can do on the side to bring in extra cash flow, and nothing really worked. But then I hit a moment where I had a proper self-check-in, and I realised what was holding me back. And this is something that, since I made this decision, I've always followed the same signposts. And for me, that is fear, right? I learned that if something scares you, it's normally a sign that it's something that you should go and do. And just, that's how I've viewed things. And the reason being was, like, public speaking for me was my biggest fear. I think it is for most people.
That's the thing.
You know,
yeah.
Like, most people, they talk about they're more scared of public speaking than they are of dying. You know, like, you'd rather be the guy in the coffin than the guy giving the eulogy, which is a bit crazy. But for me, being a youth worker, I could work with, I had built relationships, you know, I built contacts, it was great. But you asked me to stand up in front of 4 young people and deliver an actual talk, not just, you know, sitting and working and chatting normal, but actually delivering content. I was a wreck, a nervous wreck. So here I was telling these young people that they could go and, you know,
break through your barriers.
You know, don't let that hold you back. Go and, you're better than this, and you're seeing in them what they might not see in themselves. And then I'm sitting thinking to myself, you're such a hypocrite. You're like, here you are, you're one thing that scares you the most, and you'll do everything you can to avoid it. Like, genuinely, I couldn't do it. So I made what was probably the worst and best decision in my life, which was to leave youth work and go and get a job as a speaker. Mm-hmm. And I went and worked with a company. It still tied into the youth in that sense, in the educational part, because now what I was doing was I was going into schools up and down the country, all over Scotland and in England as well, and delivering talks to, you know, sometimes groups as big as 200, 250 people. Mm-hmm. Now, for someone who was terrified of public speaking to go and do that, like, it was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. It genuinely was. Like, I don't know how many shirts and suit jackets I had to throw out, because when I left the school, they were wringing with sweat. I was terrible. But I grew through that, you know, and the growth that I had personally and mentally from that was just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Being able to face a fear like that, to face something that was really, like, so far out my comfort zone, it was incredible. And that decision that I made at that point was, when I look back, it was because I made that choice that I am where I am today, even though it was nothing to do with property. Yeah. It was that decision of, like, I need to get out my own way here. I need to actually start doing the things that I'm reading about and face my fears and break through those barriers. So because of that really changed me as a person. Like, when I look back what I've done since then, just the confidence in myself.
Exactly.
I'm a completely different person, which is crazy, and I get so much from that, you know. And that whole thing of still working with people and building relationships, and like I get so much from helping other people, being able to share the knowledge, because a lot of the stuff that I was teaching as a speaker as well at that point, the content I was delivering, it was all based on books that I had read anyway that were on mindset and growth and all this kind of stuff. So to be able to continue to share that was the thing that ticked the box for me. But again, there was a personal reason, there was a passion there that I was following, which is good, which is the whole supporting people. But looking further down the line, it was the same thing with the other bank account. It was like I'm growing as a person here, and I'm doing what all the books say you should do, and grow yourself, you know, to be more and make more, you need to become more. And I was doing all this stuff, but I still wasn't seeing the results in my financial bank account. And that's when I looked at the role of a speaker. I never see myself as being a world-renowned speaker and making thousands and thousands of pounds for keynote speeches. That was never going to be who I was. Right. So looking at the role that I had, I was still just going to be earning an average salary, the same as I would have been as a youth worker. Yeah. Albeit I had grown and I had a development, but I was still going to be earning the same. So that's when I started looking for different things. Right. And I started going to different networking events and just building that network and trying to connect with different people. And that was where I met Paul. You know, and I think it was just by chance that, you know, we were in the same group talking to each other. And I mean, for anybody that's met Paul, you can't not be intrigued by his enthusiasm, you know, his excitement when he talks about property and stuff. And that was what really pulled me in. You know, I started asking questions about what he was doing, because he's not that much older than me, but he seemed to be this successful, you know, he was loving everything he was doing. I'm thinking, I want a piece of that, you know, I want to know what that is. So from chatting to Paul and finding out a little bit about what he did and what he was doing, and then learning that he did this protege thing, you know, and I was like, well, what's that? Found out a bit more about that. And I just thought, well, do you know what? I mean, why not? Why not throw myself into this? What I've learned so far is that whenever I apply myself to something, I've just overcame the biggest fear that I've ever had in my life. Well, surely I can go and do this as well then. So that was what kind of got me going. And as I say, that decision back then gave me the confidence and the belief. And, you know, I'll not lie, Paul gave me a lot of that confidence and belief as well, in terms of being on protege and learning what was possible and what you could do. And all I did was just go and follow the system. Right. Like it was a weird scenario for me sitting in protege, where I must have been the least experienced person in that room. To the point in the world of property. In the world of property. Yeah. You know, people are asking questions, and I knew so little that I didn't understand why they were asking the question, if you know what I mean. Right. Like I was so out my depth, but I knew that, well, if I just keep plugging in, tap into the support, you know, annoy Paul, keep asking questions, that I would get results. So for me, it was a phenomenal start for me. People have done, like, you know yourself, you know, we work in protege, and people do deals within a couple of days. You know, there's people that have done deals on the way home from leaving protege. For me, or during it. Like, there's some of my funniest ones. You know, you see someone coming in late, and you're like, where have you been? I'll need to tell you later. I've been on a phone call. Oh my goodness. So just to clarify, so Paul McFadden, you know, so here we are on This Week in Property, but outside of this, where our worlds overlap together, Paul, his company PMW, they've got his flagship programme is Property Protege. So folks listening in, if they're interested in that, they can see all the links obviously in the show notes, and that's what you're talking about, and that's the kind of the empire, that training academy thing that you've came through, but as someone completely fresh with nothing to do with property, no background in it, no, I've got a buy to let from being a student or such, just nothing, blank canvas, and just following the path, following the instructions, following the patterns, and doing a lot of networking as well, I suppose, as well. Is that where the kind of start of the amazing resources and contacts that you've now got, is that where it started for you then? Starting to see all these other people? I think so. I mean, like, I really learned the benefit of building a network. But I was like, I know when I'm not good at something, and I know that to get better, it's repetition, I need to go back and keep doing the same thing. Yeah. I went back to Prodigy so many times. Like it was, I think that's why Paul asked me to come on board and help, because I was there anyway, right? But there was so many aspects of that and so many different angles that I was looking at doing. One was every time I went back to Prodigy, it was a different group of people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
so I was
of course.
growing that network and those connections, and there's builders here, and there was architects and accountants and surveyors and everybody that was in there, and I learned to grow that network and really build the relationship aspect again. Mm-hmm. But the other thing for me was I knew that there was so much I still didn't understand, and I was like, I need to keep it back, because I want to master this. I don't just want to be someone who does a couple of deals. Yeah,
I'll just learn how to do this one thing, or learn how to do this one tactic or one strategy. Yeah, gotcha.
I wanted to master it, because for me, looking at someone like Paul, it was like, if he's been able to do that, and he's shown me the quickest way to get there, like, I just need to keep going and making sure I'm doing the right things. Mm-hmm. And it took me 6 weeks from the first time I attended Prodigy. My first deal came 6 weeks after attending Prodigy.
Which is still quick for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For some people, because everyone's different, they're trying to juggle things. Some people are single, some people are married with 5 kids. Some people are 22, some people are 68. We're all different locations, and we're trying to juggle careers. And I'm unemployed, I've got all the time. Oh, brilliant. Well, actually, I'm holding down 3 different businesses. I'm just trying to learn this on the side. I'll need to take my time. Fine, go for it. Take as long as you want. And as you say, sometimes they're doing the first deal inside the training, which is just hilarious. Some are doing it on the way home. Some, like yourself, you've said it's a couple of weeks after, 6 weeks after. Some you might not hear. They'll come back maybe 6-7 months into that journey, which is great. Why we get to work with them for a year, I suppose. And then they'll suddenly say, that's my first official one. And then the next one's ready. And then the next one's, you've hit it. You've now hit your pattern. You've hit your wee path there, which is great to see. Yeah. So it was 6 weeks for you.
Yeah, 6 weeks, and that was quick.
Yeah,
that was quicker than I expected. And again, the teachable moment from Paul for me was when I got that deal and I took it to Paul, and I following everything he'd shown me, or thinking I was following everything he'd shown me. I was going to make, I think, maybe 2.5 or 3 grand, right? And I was like, this is amazing. I've never made that amount of money from anything at the one time. And then Paul made a couple of little tweaks, and literally like less than a minute of him looking at the structure of that deal, that deal was now worth just under 6 grand for me. And I was like, how did you do that? Like, how? Show me again. And again, it pulled me in, because I was realising there's so much more here that I still don't know.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, that was the big moment where it was like, I need to master this. Like, I need to stop looking at this as, I can maybe do a couple of wee deals throughout the year and whatever like that. Like, there's money to be made here. There's things that can really be done. Mm-hmm. And the best thing was for me making more money, like the investor that I had for the deal, they were still getting everything and more that they actually wanted as well. Right. Like, this is where the confusion comes from. People think that if you charge more, you're taking away from somebody else and stuff. And this is what Paul taught me, was it's known how a deal can really be structured and how you can really create a better win-win for everybody involved. So I just kept on tapping into that. I kept on tapping into his knowledge, and it must have been, I think it was almost a year into from when I first did Prodigy that Paul asked me to come on board and work more alongside him, helping with, because he was obviously seeing the stuff that I was doing. And I think in a strange way, he's seen in me what the same way that when I'm working with young kids and stuff, you see in them what they don't see in themselves. Yeah. Paul must have seen something in me, because when he asked me, I was like, why are you asking me? Of all the other people that were in that room that do property already, like, why would you come to me? But he obviously seen something in me that he could work with and nurture and grow. And that moment, I mean, it's been 4 years, 5 years now. Right. I've been working with Paul, with yourself, inside the tribe, now one of the lead trainers for Prodigy as well, delivering, teaching other people. So again, it's almost came full circle for me in that, like, when I go to bed at night now, I look at those 2 bank accounts,
but the 2 of them are up.
The financial one's up there, which is exactly what I wanted. And it was a bit of a crossroads for me to step away from something that gives you so much gratification and satisfaction. Like, because it is like, do you continue to chase your passion of helping people, or do you chase the money? And I kind of had a difficult choice to make. But I suppose going back to that decision, my goal at that point was go into property and chase the money with the intention of, when I've made enough money and I've built a portfolio, I can go back to youth work. And I don't need to go back for the money. I go back for the satisfaction of that. Like, I get so much joy from helping other people.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that property's actually given me that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not working with young people that was the satisfaction. It was just working with people.
Working with people. Yep.
So now, as a lead trainer on Protege and as a lead trainer on Paul's team, like, I'm ticking both boxes.
Yeah, which is nice.
It's phenomenal. And it wasn't until I was kind of in it that I realised that that's what was happening. And I was like, this is funny how this is all kind of came round.
It is.
And then on top of that, my own personal growth. I mean, you can't be working side by side with Paul McFadden for 4+ years and not grow. You know, not be taught and forced to think bigger and think differently. Like, it's just phenomenal. So, I mean, I'm loving where we are now. I suppose it's a long way roundabout to how I get started and how I'm here, but
yeah,
I think it's all important, because all those little decisions that I made and things that I did are why I'm actually here working with Paul and Protege.
And you can't see that looking forward. You can only see the dots connecting looking back. You know, it's funny.
Yeah,
it's funny how life works that way.
There was no way I could look a few years down the path and go, I'm going to be a lead trainer, and I'm going to be the guy that can help other people and teach people how to do property, because I was in the room trying to do it myself.
You were just there for yourself. I need to learn this. I need to correct. That's really cool. I love that. I love how those things all come back on each other. I think you've also kind of touched upon one of the many, many great things that we can enjoy for working with the tribe, is that there's so much of that variation. You know, it's people who are not coming in and being taught this one-trick pony, because I hate seeing that in the property world, the business world, you know, the new fad, the new thing that pops up. Because of this change in legislation, you can make all your money this way. Or because of this wee thing in this part of the country, you can make your money this way. It's so kind of closed and blinkered, and if anything changes, the legislation, the country, the economy, everything, then those things can be stopped. They can be shut down. You know, it can be a compliance thing, it could be a financial thing, it could be just supply and demand thing, whatever it is, and then they all collapse. Whereas in Protege, in that tribe of just the most amazing people, everybody's doing loads of different things, you know, and we get to see that and work with it. You know, we can pick out like a girl like Heather Critchell, you know, just amazing woman having all the success, and she's got a real focus. She does other things, but a real focus on HMOs. You know, so you can watch her and see her journey, and the deals that she's put together is just unbelievable. You know, you can come out there, look at another female like Rochelle, who also down in England, funnily enough, works with loads of investors and loads of different deals and flips and stuff. You know, I mean, there's so many. Robert, is it McMillan? There's so many people I'm trying to remember, but Robert kind of touches upon the fact where we mentioned people who have been in the game a long time. Because you had that feeling of, why are you picking me to help me with your training? Yeah. Oh no, I'm not in the game. Well, someone like Robert is in the game. He's been like a letting agent for decades. Yeah. You know, decades. But he's got the right mindset. Why on earth would someone with decades of experience come to training? You know, training, that doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't for some people, but for someone like Robert who's switched on, got an open mind, and does not think of himself as being finished. Yeah. I'm a lifelong learner. What else? What's that? What's that about? He's got a curiosity. And then he comes in, and look at him, he's just flying, and he's connecting with people, and him and I think it's Isabella, apologies for the name, kind of memories. And they're doing all these different things and different deals, and he's owning, you know, residence property and everything. Yeah. I just love that. Yeah. There's all these differences and variety.
I think that's the big thing about what Protege did for me that I see a lot of other people missing out on.
Right.
Like, Protege gives you so much, but it gives you the full picture.
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge that a lot of other sourcers out there experience, is that as you say, they go and learn this one thing.
This thing.
Right? Everyone knows that sourcing is a great cash flowing strategy. There's no denying that. It's how I've got started in property. It's how most people end up getting started. Paul talks about it himself. It's how he get really started as well. Now,
to jump in, I'm trying to think of everybody's kind of awareness, so viewers and listeners. So what's he talking about sourcing? Actually sourcing, finding properties for other people, finding a deal,
or deal trading, whatever you call it. Finding a property to sell it to an investor.
Yeah.
And it's one of the easiest ways to get in property with no money.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge that a lot of these sourcers or deal packagers out there have is that they know how to go and find a deal and sell it to an investor. But that's it.
That's it.
They don't see but they're seeing 5% of what property can do.
Yeah.
And Protégé, that was really the thing that helped me, was understanding the bigger picture. Because to me, it's not just about finding a deal. It's and I need to try and be careful how I say this, but the majority of sourcers out there are just lousy at what they do. They're just they can't find the right deals for the right investors. They don't know what it is they're looking for. And the reality is, the experience that they have is go out and find a property and then try and sell it.
Yeah.
And you'll see this, you see it online all the time, you see it in huge groups where people are just firing deals out. And I remember Paul talking about this, and it really hit home for me. Paul says, when you see someone trying to punt a deal online on a social media platform to the thousands of their network that they've never even met before, what does it tell you? It tells you that no one within their close network either trusts the deal enough or trusts them enough that the numbers work, because if they did, they would buy
it wouldn't be public. It would be gone.
And when Paul mentioned that to me, it really got me thinking, and I was like, that's actually so true. And I see it now, the amount of people who are professional sourcers or property strategists, you see it online all the time now, that continually fire me private messages and asking me questions, and I'm like, looking at your profile, it would appear that you've been doing this for years and are hugely successful at it, but they're asking me basic questions. And that's not listen, if there's something you don't understand, you should
correct ask, totally
lifelong learner. But what it highlighted for me was how little some people actually knew about property
outside of that wee channel that they're in.
And I think that's where not just myself but everyone else that's come through Protégé, they get that. They get, how do you source property? How do you structure deals the right way? How do you really give more value to the investor? Understanding company structures, understanding tax advice. Not that you're giving tax advice, but having an overall understanding of it. But then having the right contacts to pull in and put them in touch with each other. That is what made people do Protégé. It's what's made them be so successful, because they see the whole picture. And the reality is, most sourcers out there who are doing a good job have likely been trained by myself or Paul or you by coming through Protégé. Because the other ones that are asking these questions, they're not people that I've worked with.
No, exactly.
And it was a massive kind of eye-opener for me.
That's interesting. Because you do see that. I mean, I see it myself, public forums or groups or whatever, and it all revolves around the discount, the BMV, the below market value. If I just do this, if I can be, a shady way of doing this, if I can actually take advantage of someone and just drive down that, that's what it is. That's the key to property. Be a taker and drive down that, just negotiate. That's what it's all about. It reeks off them. That energy is given off them, and then they talk about that in the deal. Right, here you go. I found one, a lowballed. I went to 500 different opportunities that I found in Rightmove, and I just went, 30 grand below, 40 grand below, whatever it is, and I finally got one. That's the way to look at it, and that's just it. Whereas it's bigger than that. And you think bigger than that, and you've got that awareness bigger than that of different ways to structure a thing. And there's loads of properties, I know, because I've been invested with your company, there's loads of properties you've actually paid the market value, the whole report, or even above it. because you know other things.
Yeah.
You know how to add value. You know how to structure a deal. You know how to, play about with the way that it's going to go through the process and so on and so forth. And that's where the value comes from.
Yeah.
And you're helping umpteen different people with that. You're helping me, in that case, as an investor. You're helping the seller from that time getting exactly what they want. You're helping other people that you've used and brought in your own build team. You've used solicitors and brokers and so on. All these people benefiting from it. It's like a give mentality. It goes back to that mindset thing, which is a great thing.
Yeah, and I think that was a big lesson for me as well, was learning that the more you give. Listen, I'm not Mother Teresa. I don't do it.
No, it's business at the end of it.
Everyone gets paid for it.
Yep.
But I understood that the more value you can give, the more you're worth in that sense. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where looking at what I was doing and the lessons I was getting from Paul by working beside him, that's what really opened up what we're doing now in terms of the working with our own private clients as well. Like, we teach people how to go and do this.
Yeah.
We educate them and show them what we do so that they can go and do it as well. But ultimately, we do it ourselves still too. And it's not it's not a new thing, because what I'm doing is what Paul taught me to do.
Exactly.
It's what Paul's always done himself. But I think there came a point where the growth, Paul's focus isn't on single deals and stuff anymore. Yourself, the stuff he's working on as a company and the land acquisitions and these bigger developments, it's phenomenal. And then there was I doing my own thing as well, and I was still working with Paul, so it was a nice little relationship we had going. I thought, again, the more people you can help, the more you can bring to the table, the better things normally turn out. So we brought it together in terms of, well, here's what we can go and do. As well as teaching proteges what to do, let's really build this ourselves. So with our own private clients that we've got now, and it is just that value that we offer. It's not just about finding a deal. The biggest challenge people have is when they can't get rid of a deal, is because they've found something that they think someone's looking for, but it might be something that nobody's actually looking for.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're different. I've genuinely got an interest in people. And I think that's where...
Because that comes through the whole journey.
Yeah. The
whole life journey, yeah.
And you can only give someone that level of value if you do have a genuine interest. For some people it's like, what's the end goal? I want to get a property deal. Well, no, that's the first step. That's not the end goal, whereas most sources are, here it is, boom.
There it is. There's your answer.
That's you done. I'm like, no, I want to know why. Like, why do you want that? What is the end result? Because for most people, when you dig a little bit deeper, it's all the same things. It's time, it's freedom, it's building that income on the side so you don't need to rely on a job. I'm experiencing this even more myself now. I've got a 7-month-old. It's my first child, and it's like my day revolves around about them.
Yeah.
Not revolving around about my work. Don't tell Paul this. Not revolving around about my working hours. But that's the benefit I've got. We've got a system there, and we've got money coming in that my family is my main focus. And for most people, the family is the main focus, but they spend most of the time at work to get that little
wee slice,
that little bit of slice of the day where they spend with family.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I find most people want to do, is they want to change that. They want to flip that on its head. They want to spend less time doing work, less time doing the things that make money, so that they can have the time and the freedom to actually enjoy the family time, to enjoy the luxuries that they've got. And it's only by working with people and actually taking a genuine interest that you can offer that.
Yeah.
And I genuinely want to build relationships, because I know that if I find out what helps you tick, if I find out what your drives are and what your motivation is, and if I know that I can help deliver that for you, then I will deliver that for you.
Yeah.
I will go out and do that. But I think where people lack that is, one, let's be honest, a lot of people out there, sourcing gets a bad name.
Yeah.
It genuinely does. And rightly so, because most of them are in it for themselves. That's all they're thinking about. And that's why they'll never really get that far ahead. They'll always be, because you're working with other people that are only thinking about themselves and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And everyone's, I'm in it for me and you don't get anything. I'm like, no, like tell me what you want. If I can help you get there, then I will. And I'm committed to working. Like, we've got our database. We've got our investors who are on there who we'll put deals out to. But then we've got our private clients who I work with personally.
Yeah. It's a totally different relationship.
And it is that relationship. That's exactly what it is. It's a relationship. It's not just you're a name on a database.
Yeah.
Or you're an email address. It's like we've had a conversation, and we know what the end result is here. And sometimes people's end results, like I had a call with a guy before who his goal was, I want to build a portfolio that I can make £50,000 a year from, because that's his current salary.
Right.
And I want to be able to do that so that I can match my working salary, but then leave work.
Right.
And it was a 15-year plan for him.
Right.
Now, based on what he knew about property, that 15-year goal made sense. But by just taking a little bit of time to understand what the real drivers were and where
the actual target. Yeah.
And then knowing what I know about property with the expertise that I've now got and the contacts that I've got and the team that we've got and the network that we've got and everything else that we bring to that table, to that relationship, that 15-year goal is now a 5-year goal. And that fucking excites me. Being able to turn around to someone and say, you don't need to retire in 15 years. You can retire in 5 if you want, because here's how we can do it.
Yep.
And that excites me, it excites them. And I'm committed to getting that result. Why? Because they've committed to me as well.
Yeah.
They've committed to work with me, and that's the big difference that I think is what we've seen lacking in the property industry just now, in a lot of senses. People are scared to commit.
Yes, true. Why do you think that is? Is that a fear thing?
I think there's definitely a fear thing there. There's a scepticism, property gets a bad reputation, and like I say, rightly so, because there's a lot of people out there, as there is in any industry.
Any business, any field, anything. People are people.
Of course, there'll be people who try and take from others, but there's always other people that try to give, and I've always just found that the more I give, the more I get. It's a weird thing, but and you talk to successful people, they all say the same thing. Successful people, true success isn't people that try and keep it for themselves. They always want to kind of share and help others. Yeah. And I think it's just about finding the right people to work with. And that might be me. It might not be. It's all good. There's clients who reach out and I know they're not the right person for me.
Right.
And I don't work with them.
Right, okay, so you go through that process with them to understand them.
Of course.
Yeah. Because you can't work with everybody.
You can't. You absolutely can. And for how we do things, and it's not just about finding the deal. Here's a property that we've got for you. It is a relationship. That there is that working relationship there. There's a partnership there where you're working with each other to achieve that joint goal. It needs to be someone that you can actually have a relationship with and work with. And sometimes I go on the phone with people and I find out a little bit about where they're going, what they're looking to do, and I just know it's not going to be the right fit.
Just not a fit. That's a good way of putting it.
And I let them know that in the nicest way.
Right.
But I'll still give value. If there's still something I can offer them, give value and a little bit of advice, I do that. But when it has to work for both of us. It has to work for everybody involved. And if it does, then there's commitment there. And from us, we're different. We take your fee up front for going finding deals. Why? Because I want to know that you're committed to work with me. If you're committed, then I'm committed to you. I can't remember who it was, but I remember hearing the whole thing about I got asked the question actually recently, why do you take your fees up front? If I'll be fully committed once you find me the deal. And it was I can't remember who the guy was, but there was something they talk about, how much do you give in a relationship? Right. If you get two people in a relationship, do you give 50% and they give 50%? Right. And that makes sense, right? Because,
on the numbers.
Yeah. 50% makes the whole. Yeah. But then if you're only giving 50%, you're never getting 100% back of that relationship. You're only getting 50% back. And really looking at that from the point of view of, well, I need to give 100, but I need you to give 100% as well. Yeah. And if we're both going to do this together and work together, that's where the magic happens. And I think it's been, like I said before, you can't not work with Paul for the length of time that I have and be by his side and have his his insights and his knowledge and his expertise and not grow and not see how things are different. And that's where we've seen the biggest results, is people are scared to commit. I think that's quite funny. It kind of ties back to me, fear being the signpost to what I'm chasing, right? And I suppose it does work in that sense where, like, when you face that fear, I guarantee you when people commit, you get better results.
Yeah.
I'd never have overcome my fear of public speaking if I didn't commit and just fucking go all in.
Yep.
Right? If I wanted to read more books and watch some YouTube stuff and find out a little bit about public speaking, great. But I wouldn't have got the results. If I didn't go all into Protege and commit to property, I wouldn't have got the results. And I think that when people find the right person to work with, and they're able to commit and willing to commit, like what we've been able to achieve for some of our clients is genuinely nothing short of breathtaking. It's like, it still blows my mind that I'm in a position that I can help people achieve what they've, I don't know, only dreamed of doing or envisioned being 15 or 20 years down the line, and shortening that phase for them, giving someone 10 years of their life back.
Exactly. It's massive. It's priceless.
And that's the driver for me. It's not the money. The money's great. The money helps, and we all need money to live the life that we want. But that satisfaction for me, for Paul, for the clients, that's the truth. That's the true thing there. That's the thing that drives us.
I love it. And people listening in, if they're wanting to see some of those deals just on the kind of first level of being an investor, or they want to try and see if they are a fit with you, actually have a chat with you and stuff to see if there's a fit there and become that private client and, a proper relationship and stuff, they can check out the show notes, and we'll get some links off you, no doubt. We'll stick them in the show notes and folk can see that. I love the fact also that you've kind of launched this whole thing and got it all working as a success and helping all these people during a pandemic. I'm not sure that was the best choice, but you've got it working. You've actually.
It's again, this is a lesson from Paul. Like, I was the guy that would wait until the right time.
Right, the perfect time. That thing that's spoken about.
We all start to understand and realise the perfect time never exists.
Yep.
The perfect time is now.
Yep.
Because, God, even more so in a scary sense, we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what's
exactly.
happening.
Don't know when this is going to end. Don't know anything.
Then there's people waiting. There's people sitting on the fence and just waiting. And that's fine, but they're going to be waiting a long time. Because if they're waiting for the right and the perfect moment, it's never coming.
No.
You almost need to make that and create that yourself. And it's not been easy for us to do this during the pandemic. It's definitely had its challenges, but I think the thing that excites me even more about it is proving to myself as well that, if we're doing this now, listen, we were doing this before.
Exactly. Just you're opening it to more people to enjoy.
And seeing that we can still help more people. We've got enough deals there that we can really bring in more clients now and work and build those relationships. And these are relationships that will serve us and them for years to come, because we'll always be working with them.
Yeah.
And seeing that we can do that just now excites me. Because here's the big thing. If you're someone who's prepared to commit to me, right, and want to build a portfolio or get more deals or work with me just now, then I know that when this whole pandemic clears up, like, who do you think I'm going to work with even more so after it?
Exactly.
The people that I know are wanting, like the people that are actually wanting what they say they want. And it's interesting because, like, it's not just people that are starting out. Like, we get people who are, I think most people are the ones who, they're busy working professionals.
Right. They've just not got the time.
They've just not got the time.
Yeah.
And we all know that we can. I've done it myself. I went on a course. I went on Protege. I learned. I got a mentor. I was able to shadow Paul and do everything. And that's what gave me the tools and the skills that I've got now. So people can still go and do that. There's a lot of people who, they just don't have the time.
Yeah.
They can go and learn it, but they know themselves they still don't have the time to then apply after that as well. So these busy working professionals, that want to create that extra cash or that extra income, that's the majority of people we work with. But what I've found really interesting recently as well is there's people that are trained in property. There's people that know how to do what we do, but they're still not finding the right kind of deals. And like people who've been in property for just as long as I have, who are coming to me and wanting to work with me because they know that with the network that we've got and the resources we've got and everything else there, they know that we can actually deliver that for them. Because let's face it, they've been on training, they know how to do everything, but they've still maybe got their own job. They're still a busy professional, they're still working, they still don't have the time.
Exactly.
And is that, if you've only got that little slice of time in the evenings for your family, do you really want to take that up with going scouring Rightmove and trying to find a deal because you're not doing the other stuff that we do?
Yeah.
You just outsource it.
Yep.
You know, and like I talk about this a lot about the power of your network and your team and the professionals you've got around about you. And I always say, like, having a property sourcer in your power team is one of the quickest ways that you're going to get better deals. It just is, because you've got someone who's dedicated to go out there and doing it.
Yeah.
And you'll find people now, and I'm finding it, where they understand property. And it's great because it's almost like they know the script. You don't need to educate them in that sense. And you know, I enjoy educating people and letting them know what's going on and stuff, but you can kind of skip by those steps because they already know.
Yes.
They know what's happening.
They speak that language. Yeah.
So you can just, boom, get straight into it. So we've got people who are already in property and have been for ages, but they're just not getting the right kind of deals. And we're working with them as well now. And it's great. It's interesting to see there's such a wide range of types of people. But they all kind of fall into that same bracket of it's time.
Yeah. Also the resources as well, you know. I don't have the time to do that, and I've not got the contacts or the resources or whatever to solve that problem or to quickly deal with that thing. It's going to drag more of my time to try and solve that problem. Whereas I've got Sean, I'm just going to work with him and he can solve those problems for me. That's the service, that's what I'm paying for. This is perfect. You know, that's what a lot of investors do. They just invest, you know, because they've got the money, they've got whatever the ability to do it, but they don't have the time or the information, the education, the resources, the contacts, whatever it is. And they just outsource, as you say.
Absolutely.
Love it. I love it. Now, I want to be respectful of your time. Let's kind of just think about things in general, I suppose, before we wrap up. Kind of your opinions on stuff. What kind of deals or things are you seeing at the moment? And have you got any thoughts on where the market in general is going, etc.? What are you seeing with the kind of price ranges and stuff? Are things going over value, under value? How's the appetite out there?
The market's interesting. That's one word to use for it just now. It's definitely interesting. I don't think anyone can really pinpoint, because what we're seeing just now is pretty much everything that we thought we wouldn't see.
Right.
You know, with the pandemic and people not working and furlough and everything, everything's kind of just, you expected everything to stop, and die down, but we're seeing the opposite, especially on the market, on things like Rightmove and stuff like that, where, to be honest, most people go and look for properties there, and it's the same challenges that I hear from, you know, clients that reach out. You know, I've been looking for months, not being able to find a deal. Everything's going to a closing date and it's going way above the value, and I'm thinking, I don't waste my time looking on Rightmove. I don't waste my time looking on the market for properties right now, because that's where everybody else is looking. Right, and everybody's forcing it up. So I just look somewhere different. And that's what we specialise in, is finding those deals that are off market, that are better discounts for our investors. But I think what you're seeing in the market just now is, I was reading an interesting thing about the whole rental demand and stuff as well. And you're seeing this a lot, where people are saying, you know, like the buy-to-let game, you know, the buy-to-let industry's dead, and like,
I don't know how many times I've read that since I started investing in property. Everything's dying. Property's dying.
Really interesting thing just now that they're talking about, the halo effect. Right. I don't know if you know about that, and they're saying how you're seeing it in major cities because, you know, there's nobody working, you know, or very little people working. And people who would live in or directly outside the city for commuting purposes are not doing that anymore. They're looking for more space. This is what more people are looking for, more space and a bit more privacy and gardens and everything like that. So they're now starting to come out of the city. And you're getting this in the centre where it's dying a little bit. But this halo effect, this ring round about those areas, where when people are thinking that rental demand's going to fall, you're actually seeing these other little satellite towns, you would call them, that are kind of further out from the cities. The rents are actually increasing. Everywhere's increasing. I mean, you've seen Edinburgh took a dip, London took a dip, But all other major cities, they're either staying where they are or they're increasing that halo effect round about them. You're seeing rents rise. And I think that's interesting because a lot of people, they always focus on, you know, want to get a property in the city centre, you know, because that's where you get the most cash flow. But this market, it's making people think in a different way, you know. And I don't think we're ever going to get back to normality of how we seen it before a couple of years ago.
Right.
You know, I think there's always going to be this hybrid of working from home and working from the office, and I think this whole coming out of the city a little bit and looking at these other towns and areas round about, people are going to continue to look for more space because they're going to be working from home maybe, you know, 20 to 50% of the time.
Right.
They're going to want a little bit more space. I think it's changing, which is really interesting to watch.
Yeah, but again, just to cap it all up, only if you're open-minded enough to see that, only if you're bigger thinking to see it, because if you have been, and we spoke about it, you know, the majority of these sourcers, just the blinkers are on, and this is what I do, this is what I've always done, this is how I do it, and this is what I chase, and this is what I work on, this is my skill set, it's blocked in, that's all I can see. But no, if you're much more open than that, a problem solver, looking at all the angles, oh, that's interesting over there. Well, this is tweaking a wee bit, right? Okay, I'm going to tweak my business to work with that, or I'm going to adapt in this way. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And more opportunities.
I think from the investor's point of view as well is if they know a little bit about property, and I say that with respect, but they normally do know a little bit about property, so they go, yeah, I've read that you should always buy in a centre, buy in the cities or right next to the city. And this is why I love finding out what is the end goal here. What is the end? Is it a 15-year goal? Is it a 20-year goal? Is it a 10-year goal? Because if I know what that is, then I might know a better way to get you that result that's not what they might think it is. And I think that's where the open-mindedness comes in from an investor as well. Like, you might think that this is the strategy, but that's based on the 10% that you know about property.
Yeah.
Let me show you how we can get the same result, but quicker, more efficiently, by doing this and doing this, and let me bring this person in the team and let me introduce you to this person.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, you need to be open-minded as a property professional, but as an investor as well.
As an investor, you don't know what you don't know. 100%. The old classic phrase. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. Thanks for your time today.
Awesome. Enjoyed
really appreciate that. Absolutely brilliant. So viewers, listeners, make sure you subscribe, make sure you get your notifications, all these shows that are coming to you. But follow this man. Go into the show notes when it's safe to do so. Connect with them, follow them, and who knows, if you really want to go for it, if you really want to, you know, enhance your investment money, you want to try and work with them, try to see, can I fit? Am I a possible fit for Sean? Would he approve me? Then reach out, use those links and get in touch with them. Brilliant. Thanks a million. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. Remember, with the guests that you just saw, go into the show notes for the page because all of their links are there so that you can get in touch and to get more information. And talking about getting more information, more guests, more insights, more knowledge, etc., make sure you're subscribed. Get the subscription done, get the notifications on, and then we'll always keep in touch with you every single time a brand new show is going to come out. So thanks for tuning to This Week in Property.